Imagine for a moment that some kind of alien species comes down to Earth for the first time and they try some of our food. Maybe, I don't know, a hot dog. What are they to think about a hot dog? Well, they'll judge its appearance, analyze what it's made from. Maybe they'll like it, maybe they'll find it pleasant to eat, maybe not. The thing is though, an alien eating a hot dog completely out of context will never know what a hot dog means to, say, someone from New York City. In New York City, a street hot dog has a certain significance that it won't have to an objective observer. I guess my point is that food is a lot more than just taste and smell and appearance. Food comes with culture, history, tradition, stories. And today I'd like to talk about a food that has all of those in spades. It's an Italian food that a lot of people haven't heard of. It's not famous outside of a little region here, but to the people who eat it, it means everything. In fact, to the people who live in our town here in Dasà, Calabria, it's the most important food. So in this video, I'd like to explain what it is, how they make it here in Dasà, and what it means for the people here. But before we get into all that, we would like to show you a way that you can make it at home. I say a way because it's not the way they make it here. You'll see why later. Now, if you do think you might want to make this recipe, you'll find it on our blog, pastagrammar.com. But you may have the experience, like I have had many times, where you find a recipe that you want to make and revisit on a website or something. And maybe you save a link or a bookmark, but it gets lost, and you don't have a good way to organize all of the meaningful recipes in your life. And that's where today's video sponsor comes in. Resemi is hands down the best way to store and organize all of your recipes. It's an app you can download on your phone, and what makes it so unbelievably cool is how easy it is to import recipes from virtually anywhere. Let's say you find a recipe on a blog like ours. You just paste a link into the app, it scans the whole page, it imports all the ingredients and steps perfectly, and now you have that recipe saved forever. But it gets better. Let's say you have a cookbook, and maybe there's that one recipe in that cookbook you love so much and you always keep coming back to. Well, you don't have to lug out that book every time. Using your phone's camera, you can just scan the page. It does the same thing, imports the recipe perfectly. You can import recipes from things like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. You can, of course, write your own recipes, and then you can organize your growing collection into your own categorized cookbooks. We think every home cook should at least check out Resemi because we truly think that it is the best way to organize all of your recipes. Check it out by clicking the link down below to download it. A big thank you to Resemi for sponsoring today's video. All right, let's get to the recipe. So as it turns out, the most important food is very simple.
Yes, those ingredients are the secret ingredient of the real pure happiness. And for happiness, when I say happiness, I mean for kurujicchi.
I'm gonna quickly butt in to talk about the name here. This dish is known here in Dasà as kuriki. That's Calabrian dialect, but as many of you know, different Italian dialects are highly regionalized. So in other places in Calabria, you'll find slightly different names for this food, but we're going with kuriki. That's what they're known as here. That is the plural name, by the way. So if you're referring to more than one, you would say kuriki, but if you're referring to just one, which is rare, normally you want multiple, but if you're referring to just one, it would be kurujicchia. Okay, sorry, back to Eva.
Here we have two kinds of flour, bread flour and semolina flour. We have some water, salt, yeast, and potatoes. So things that they are easily available more or less everywhere in the world. And nothing too fancy, nothing too expensive. Everyone can be happy in the world. We start with mixing the flour. Then we add the dried yeast. For this recipe, we need boiled potatoes. So you can boil them the day before. Be sure to boil them skin on, and they will be ready when you can easily stick a fork or a knife into the potatoes. We need to mash the potatoes and put into the flour. You need to mix them very well. We can transfer our flour and potatoes to a big cutting board. We start to make our volcano and we start to add some water. Now, how much water you will need? Actually, there isn't a precise amount because it depends from how watery or dried the potatoes you are using are, and it depends also where you are, the temperature, the humidity. So you need to just adjust the quantity based on all these conditions. At this stage, when you already put in some water, is the moment in which you can add the salt. And we can keep mixing our dough.
Always helps to have a bench scraper handy.
Absolutely, yes, because we don't want to lose any grams of happiness. So this dough is pretty sticky, which means that I need a little bit more flour. Maybe you find yourself in the opposite situation where your dough is a little bit too dry, which means that in that case you need a little bit more water. What we do now is cover our dough and wait 10 minutes. We sprinkle our dough with a little bit extra flour. We give the last two, I don't know, how do you call?
Needs.
See? But just a little bit. And our dough is ready to go in the bowl, covered with plastic wrap or plastic paper, as I like to call it, and we let it rise for about 2 hours and a half, 3 hours. After 3 hours, our dough should look like this. Now is the moment of shaping the curujicchi. And what we need for shaping them, we need a little bit of semolina flour. We fold it a little bit just to give a bit of a shape. And now we start to cut it in small pieces. Think that the curujicchi looks like a donut, which means we need to give them a shape of a donut.
Little baby curicchia.
Little baby curicchia. And what we need to do is, on another cutting board, sprinkle some flour and place them here because they need to rise a second time. This actually is the traditional shape we give here in Dasà. But you can do also a normal donut.
Yeah, there are a few different kind of traditional shapes. Sometimes they're like this with sort of a little, I don't know what you call it, cross in the middle. Sometimes they're kind of like pretzels.
See, it's like you can be creative on the shape. Important is that always round.
Important question. How big should a curicchia be? Is there a specific size?
No, really. It's like, okay, you can't make a huge, like big like that. It needs to be like, how do you say, bite ball size. But otherwise, it doesn't really matter because you can make them bigger, you can make them smaller. It's up to you. We cover them, and now we need to wait, depends from the temperature, for half an hour, 45 minutes, just to give them time to rise a little bit more. As you can see, it's time to fry our curujicchi. When you fry curujicchi, you will need a big pot and a lot of oil. And when I mean a lot of oil, I mean at least 3-4 liters of oil.
I mean, you can theoretically do it in a smaller thing, but at that point you're frying them one at a time. You can do it, but
it will take forever. We need a very hot oil, which means that we should reach the temperature of 170 degrees Celsius or 180. When you see that they start to be colored, is the moment in which you can flip them. They will be ready when both sides are golden and make you start drooling.
if you've done everything correctly, you now have a plate of hot, fresh, savory potato donuts with a soft, fluffy dough. Now, that might just sound good as it is, and it is.
It's the paradise. I can eat them all.
But hang on, because you're still an objective observer. We still need to get to what this food means. But before we do, I want to show you how kuriki are made here in Dasà, because it's a little bit different. The biggest difference is scale. Here you see 50 kilograms of kuriki dough. What's 50 kilograms in pounds? 110 pounds. You'll basically never see someone here making a small personal batch of kuriki like you saw Eva make. No, when you make kuriki, you go big. In theory though, everything else works the same. You have your dough, you roll it out, you shape it either into a circle or a kind of pretzel shape, and then you let the kuriki rest and rise. Although in this case, you need lots of really big tables to hold them all. To make 110 pounds of kuriki dough, you obviously need a team of people. And that's what you see here. This is a group of women here in Dasà who are all involved with a nonprofit association called Dasà. More on them and what they do later. But it's pretty amazing seeing them spend an entire day there making kuriki, and you just keep going and going and going until you've run out of dough. That is, until you've run out of dough in the first giant bucket and you need to go get the second giant bucket. Because it takes so long to make so much kuriki, at a certain point you'll have kuriki that have fully risen and are ready to be cooked while they're still making, I don't know, the second bucket's worth of dough. And so at that point, teams sort of split off and there'll be a group of women in the kitchen who are brought the risen kuriki so that then they can start frying them. And meanwhile, the rest are still back continuing to make kuriki. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it for the people here. So why this big operation? Why this thing with kuriki? Well, this is a food that's actually common throughout Calabria. Pretty much every town will have its version of kuriki, but also every town will have its one kind of food that just culturally is sort of their food. It's maybe the food that they're most famous for, or that collectively the people enjoy the most. And here in Dasà, that food is kuriki. It's a treat that traditionally is made for Christmas, but here it's taken on a bit of an expanded role, and it's a food that is just meant for kind of any sort of very big occasion. Perhaps coming from that Christmas tradition and celebration, kuriki here means happy, good times, celebrations, festas, parties. It's not something that you just make for yourself and your family for lunch. When kuriki are made, they're made for everyone. It's not just like, I'm gonna eat kuriki today. No, everyone's eating kuriki today. In kind of an ironic way, it's the most important food here, but it's also the one that you will maybe see the least. you'll see pasta eaten here every day, very casually. Whereas kuriki, maybe you'll have a few times a year, but in terms of importance, kuriki are maybe the biggest symbol of the community here. So what was the special occasion this day? Well, this nonprofit association every year does some sort of charity fundraising event, and it always involves kuriki. So for example, a couple years ago, they did a fundraiser for a school here in Calabria for children with Down syndrome. Not only did they raise money for the school, but also the kids got to come here and learn how to make kuriki themselves. It was really fun. This year, one of the women named Mariana, who does charitable work for UNICEF, learned about this little village in Togo. It's very remote, and the nearest medical services are like 5 hours away. So this village set up its own little doctor's office. But what they're now trying to do is expand that with a children's hospital. So the association decided to support that effort this year, and they did so by selling kuriki here in town. They spent a whole day making, I don't even know how much it was, but just countless kuriki, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kuriki, and locals here lined up to buy them. They were sold like that, which was fantastic. And we loved the spirit of this effort so much that we thought we would tell you guys about it and ask for your help. We donated the money that we'll get from the sponsorship of this video. And if you're able to leave $1 or $2, the association would very much appreciate it. We'll leave a link to their website down below. If you're not in a position to do so, we understand. But if you could give this video a thumbs up so that maybe some more people can see it and we can get some more, that would be amazing. Appreciate it. In short though, I hope that you can agree with me that sometimes the humblest, simplest little food can mean a lot more than it seems. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Ciao.